Hi there, so we're going to start with the heel part of our sock. So in the first part of the tutorial I showed you how to do the toe increase, and then I gave you as assignment to finish up the tube or the length of your foot 5 centimeters or 2 inches before the end of your heel. And now you should be there, and so we get to start the heel and leg part. So for all intents and purposes, let's pretend this sock is to size because I was too lazy to make it go that long, so you better have a full-length sock. Alright, so to start, you should be ending your row in the, on the side pieces here. So if you're in the middle of a row, continue stitching to the end or undo a couple of stitches until you're at the side. So if you lie your sock flat, your toe seam should be right down here, and then you have edges on both sides. So we're going to start in one of the corner edges here. And so for the heel part, the pattern says begin working in rows. So instead of working in a spiral all the way around, we're going to do one row, do a single crochet for the border, and then back up, and we're going to work in a rectangle. So for row 1 on the right side, so you can decide if you want, let's say if I wanted this blue stripe to be on the sole of my foot, then I would start right here. If not, I would continue stitching around to the other end, and so this purple side would be on the bottom of my foot. Either way, doesn't really matter, especially if you're using a type of yarn like this or a yarn that there's very little differences in terms of color variations. That way you won't really get confused into which is the top and which is the bottom. Alright, so for the row 1 on the right side, we're going to chain 1. So we chain 1. If you hear little footsteps or little whining, that is my dog. I'm quite sorry. And then it says turn, and then single crochet in the first. Now I'm using the large pattern, of course, 26 stitches, and then we leave the remaining 26, so the front side undone. So we've chained 1, we've turned, and now we're going to single crochet in each and every one of the next 26 stitches. And so we insert yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. There goes my pattern. That's okay. 2. Essentially, you want to make your way across to the other edge. 3. So if you don't have 26 but you have more, well, divide your work in half, and then that'll give you the number of stitches you need to do for the back side. 4. Okay, 5. I don't even count because I'm just going to go with it until the edge, because I feel like I may have added a stitch or 2 to make it bigger for my foot. I'm not sure. Can't remember. So we keep going. See, single crochet, camera angles, and crocheting together don't go hand in hand. Okay, here we go. Oh. So yeah, single crochet. Make sure your yarn doesn't split. Now, I'm in a very awkward position here, but you feel free to flip your sock towards you. Crochet in a comfortable position with good lighting, please. And my yarn is splitting. So this is the really slow part for me here, doing a single crochet. You want to keep an even tension because you are building up on the heel, so you don't want to go too tight or else you won't be able to slip it onto your foot. And you also don't want to be too loose where you will end up having holes in your heels, as the current socks I'm wearing. They are pretty worn out though. So yeah, especially if you're using a nylon blend with a merino or anything with an acrylic or nylon, not an acrylic, but more of a nylon or something stretchy in it, it will give you that nice resistance to wear and tear. And so I'm still single crocheting. Blah blah blah. So feel free to fast forward the video until I get to the end of the row, or pause so you can work at your own speed. Whatever works best for you. Right. So yeah, you want to make sure you grab both, you go underneath both branches of the V, so both branches of the stitch, as not to work a back loop or a front loop, because then you'll have really odd ridging and it will hurt your foot. So I'm technically almost there. Ooh! excuse me, I undid 2 stitches because I was so excited to get to the end. One more. Okay, there we go. Here we go. Technically at the end of my row. See, if you were to fold it in half, you should be in the creases. If you really wanted to be technical, you can count. So let's count. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28. Okay, so the pattern says 26, you might end up with 28 or more. It just depends on how wide you made your foot. Okay, so that was part 1. That was row 1 of the heel. And now for row 2, it says chain 1, turn, and we're going to single crochet in the first 25 stitches according to the pattern and leave the last stitch unworked. So essentially what you're going to do is you're going to single crochet in each and every one of the stitches you just made except the last one on your row. We're going to, instead of doing a slip stitch in that one, we are just going to leave it unworked and then end our row there. So I have 28, so I want to do 27 stitches here. Your pattern, you might have 25, you might have 24, might have 30, all depending on your size of foot. But all that to say, we are going to single crochet our way back in the stitches we just made, leaving the last one unworked. So it's 2, 3. These are like the boring bits of the video. I'm leaving them in because some people appreciate going at a slow pace and others just want to get things done. I tend to do both depending on the type of project I'm working on. I also like to chat, but if my chatting bothers you, then just press pause and fast forward until you get to the end. So single crochet all the way. Whoop. I feel like I'm doing this from like a mile away. Like my arms are a mile away from where I actually am, and it's zoomed in, so it's a really weird feeling to crochet and looking through a viewfinder because I can't actually see my fingers. It's like looking through a microscope. Don't mind me chatting. I work from home alone with my dog. So, you know, great conversation. I essentially have conversations to myself, with myself and my dog, and with the camera, pretending that you're here with me, which is great. I feel the love. So here we go. We're almost to the end. La-di-da-di-da. La-di-da. I'm not bothering to count because you can go visually. All you need to know is that the last stitch of this row, you're going to leave it unworked. Like this, that, comme ceci, comme cela. If you're watching this in English and you're looking for the French version, the French version will be out soon. Essentially, it's a very easy sock to make, so you don't really need to have the French pattern, but it will be out. Alright, so we are here at the last 2 stitches. As the pattern says, we leave the last single crochet unworked, so I'm going to stitch in this before last one. And this is the end of my row. This is the end of row 2. And my yarn's pulling. See, split yarn. No use in trying to work with split yarn. Just take your hook out, start over, because you don't want to be fit. Oh, my dears. Boy, boy. Okay, here we go. Before last stitch, insert, yarn over, pull through 2, there we go. Alright, so the last stitch is remaining unworked, and now for the rows 3 to 13, or until you get to half of your initial row. So I had 28. Repeat this pattern of doing chain one at the end, turning around and single crocheting to the before last stitch, and not working into the last stitch to reduce the row by 1 each time. So I'm going to pause the video and see you at the end of the 13 rows or so, and when I have reduced, essentially what it'll look like is a set of staircases. So you'll see that each row goes up 1, but it's decreased by 1. So I will see you in a few. Here's a quick update at where I'm at. So I have 19 stitches now. I still have a couple of more rows to go, but you can clearly see here, ooh, focus, at the end of each row, you kind of see like a staircase effect going up. So each row reduces 1. Stop unfocusing. Okay, here you go. So I'll leave it like that. As you can see here, it goes down in a staircase shape. Same thing on the other side, which is great. So you want to keep going until you have 14. If you had an initial stitch count of 26 across, I had 28, and so I need to have 13.5 or 14 stitches on my last row. Easy math is, so after your row 1, you should have half of the length here. Row 2, you have 1 less, and then to kind of understand how many stitches you need to have at the end of the 13 rows is you would divide the total number of row 2 by 2. And so if we follow the pattern says row 2 you have 25 stitches at the end, and so if you divide that in 2, it gives you 13.5, 14, or 12 actually. So they rounded it up at 14 from not sure why. But if you looked at, if you follow the pattern on the smaller size, like let's say you had 20 across, while row 2 you'd end up having 19, and then you divide that by 2 is 9. If you were doing a medium-sized sock which had 23 stitches on row 1, it should have 22 stitches on row 2, and then at the end it would have 11 stitches. So essentially from the last number of row 2, you want to divide that in 2, and that'll give you your last, the count for the last row before you attach the sides to the foot, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to keep on going, and I'll see you at round 14. Alright, we're back. So here we are at the end of the 13th row. I have 13 stitches for my sock. You might have 14, you might have a bit more. So go according to the pattern. And as explained in the previous little clip about taking the last number of row 2, so your amount of single crochet in your row 2 divided by 2, and that would give you the last count for your last row. Alright, so let's start on to row 14, or the next series of rows, because now we've done the triangle bit, but now we have to kind of even it, stop unfocusing. We have to even it out to make kind of more of a rounded heel instead of a staircase heel. And so for the row 14, we need to chain 1. So I've already chained my 1 stitch. Let me zoom in. Chain 1, turn, and then it says 3 single crochet into the first stitch. So in this first stitch here, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and now we're going to single crochet across until we reach the last stitch, or the before last stitch. So we are going to single crochet, so my yarn pulled on that second one there, so single crochet across your row, there we go. See, this is fun, there's not much to stitch on this row, so it's a short row. Keep on going. Grab a bit more yarn. Okay, we got a couple left to go. So here we go. I have 2 stitches left to my row. I'm on the before last one. So on the before last one, you do a single crochet, and in the last one, you do 3 single crochets in the next stitch. So you increase in the next stitch, and so it's this little tiny one right here. And I go tight, so it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to get both. There we go. Alright, so 1, 2, come on, 2, and 3. So we've done our increase here. And then it says single crochet in the end of row. So the end of row is not where we just crocheted. It's actually in the column here. So we're going to insert our hook here. So there's no chain, there's no stitch there. So you're just going to create your own stitch by pushing it through there. And then we're going to slip stitch in the unworked stitch of the row below. So that one stitch that we skipped at the end of each row, we're going to slip stitch. So we're going to insert our hook underneath, yarn over, pull through 1, and just keep on pulling through, and there we go. So that's the end of the row 14. So for the row 15, we're going to turn our work around, and we are going to skip the slip stitch we just did. So that little stitch there, we're not going to crochet into it. We're going to single crochet in each stitch across. So we're going to single crochet in every single crochet, so not that first slip stitch, which kind of counts as a chain 1. And we're going to single crochet in each stitch across, and we're going to repeat that end part. So at the end, we're going to single crochet into the edge of the row, and then we're going to slip stitch in the row below in that stitch we didn't work. So we're single crocheting our way along like this, because now essentially what we're doing is we're rounding out the heel part, so it'll be much easier to crochet them together to join the heel to the front part, that way making a comfortable sock to wear that is molded to your foot. Come on, yarn. There we go. Keep on stitching, what do you do? Sorry, channeling my Dory from Finding Nemo. And here we go, almost to the end of the row. Almost there. Couple more to do. Okay, and so there's one more right here. Actually, let me get into focus. No, I inserted in the wrong spot. There we go. And we are going to single crochet in the edge of the row, like so. And now we are going to slip stitch in the unworked stitch from the row below. So on that staircase stitch, we are going to slip our hook through, yarn over, pull through 1, pull through 2. Alright, so for the rows 16 to 23, we are going to repeat this pattern of single crocheting in each and every one of the stitches. And then when we get to the end of the row, we are going to create a stitch on that side here, and then slip stitch on the row below here. We're going to keep doing, so we're going to go back and forth until we get to the first row here that we've done to join the front to the back. Alright, so I'll let you do this off camera, or, well, I'm going to do this off camera. I'll let you work on at your own speed. So we want to keep repeating row 15 until we reach that bottom row here. So So I will give you a progress update when I'm halfway, and then I'll see you after that. So here we are, I'm almost halfway done, or well, I'm more than halfway done. So you can see it's already starting to curl and give you that kind of heel shape that we're looking for. So we're gonna keep on going until we reach the end. And so, yeah, keep on chugging along. All right, here we go. So I'm at the end of the row 23, so at the end of the heel. So yes, my sock is quite tiny, but that's okay. So your heel should start to look like this now. So once you're at the end, you'll have you're pretty much right where the front part starts on both sides. So it curls up like this. So you have your visible heel and then the back of your heel like that. All right, so we are done the heel part and now we are off to the leg. Okay, so